All right, hello everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Stivers show. Justin Stivers here. Very excited to be speaking with a close friend, colleague, soon to be famous chef. Uh, guy does it all. Mr. Brandon Chase. Brandon, what's going on, man?
How's it going? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, if I'm a soon to be famous chef, I'll take that. I'll
Well,
definitely take that.
at the end of this, you'll have to at least post your IG handle and all that stuff, so or
Sure.
account, and so people can, because you are, I think, going to be a legit chef at some point. But
We'll
no,
see.
man, I'm excited.
We'll see.
So we've known each other for a couple of years now, and I like to think we're coming up the ranks in solo small law firms, and each year, getting a little bit better. This year, definitely a bizarre year, which hard to plan for.
Yeah, I don't think you planned for a pandemic,
No,
but
hard
it
to
is what
plan.
it is.
Yeah, man. But so I know, personal injury attorney. You do a lot of different stuff, but when we were talking before we started filming, one of those things is cruise ship litigation, which is obviously is taking a hit and just kind of is very different right now. So we'll talk a little bit about that in
Sure.
general, but yeah, let's just see. We'll start. Where I always like to start. Tell us who you are, what do you do, all that good stuff.
All right. So as you know, I am a personal injury lawyer. Majority of my practice, like you said, is maritime-based cruise ship injury cases. I've been on my own now since September of 15. So coming up on 5 years. The lights are still on, even though during these couple months I've been working remotely, as everyone has. Yeah, I leapt off on my own 5 years ago. I worked for a maritime defense firm representing the cruise lines, and I said, I want to represent the people. I want to help the people. And, unfortunately, working for the defense side, I saw a lot of what they do, and that is putting profits over the people. You're seeing it now in the news with unfortunately some of these cruise vessels that are sitting out in the ocean, and there's crew members that want to get home, need to get repatriated, and it's crazy. It's crazy. So I can't even imagine. So I went on my own. I started really small. I had one or two cases, and it's really blossomed into a full, legitimate solo practice. I have one full-time employee legal assistant myself, and I love it. I really enjoy the flexibility of being on my own. I've been in practice total now since 2011. So, I started in big law. I worked for a big Florida-based law firm doing business litigation. And while the money was good, which is what attracted me to it, I just didn't feel like I was using my strengths as a lawyer. I was stuck behind a desk researching minute issues in emotion. I didn't know the macro issues of a case. And the partners on the case who were billing it a certain amount of dollars per hour were the figureheads in those cases. And I didn't like that. I didn't like having client contact. I didn't like speaking with people. So, slowly but surely, I made my way onto my own. It's something I always think I wanted to do. And yeah, I love it. I mean, this is an interesting time, as you said. 50% of my practice on March 13th stopped. I mean, there's no way around that. Every single cruise case that I have had stopped. All of the cruise line cases that were in litigation, the cruise lines filed what are called motions for stay to stop the cases, essentially saying, we don't know what's happening with the coronavirus. We are sending all of our crew members back home to their countries. We're sending our staff shoreside in Miami home. We're furloughing people. So it put a wrench in things. One or two cases I've been able to settle, but for pennies on the dollar. One case that was a significant six-figure case that the offer was on the table was pulled the day or the day after. So that's frustrating. So that stings. But the land-based injury cases, the car accident cases, the slip and fall cases, they're still there. Obviously, there was that period where the court stopped and we didn't really know what we were doing. But now I think that everyone's more accustomed to, able to continue with depositions, with hearings, certain things that otherwise we were not doing. So, the practice is going. And I know that come July, I think the cruise lines will start to come back. It'll be a different landscape for sure, cruising. So yeah, so I know I got on a tangent, but that's kind of what I do and how I do it. And I really just like representing people. I like helping the people that are injured, and they come to me as a friend, as a confidant, of course, as their advocate, because I'm here to hopefully uncover the fact that these companies, whether it be cruise lines, insurance companies, big box stores, supermarkets, are putting profits over people.
Right.
They're hiding things that otherwise, if you don't push them, you can't hold them accountable. And
Yeah.
that's what we're here to do. And that's what I like to do. And I like to see, honestly, obviously, I like getting paid. But one of the best things about what I do is handing a client a check and knowing that it's going to change their life. It really is a nice feeling in your stomach when you know that that person has never had that amount of money before. It's not going to change the fact that they're significantly injured and will have to deal with pain and suffering the rest of their life. But you know that now that you've helped them, they're, knock on wood, financially in a better situation.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so it sounds like you found the right calling and something you're kind of passionate about, and I guess on the right side of things, I guess you would say.
Sure.
This.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested, because I speak with a lot of other attorneys and personal injury attorneys, and you've been on your own 5 years, which is pretty. It's pretty impressive, because I know a lot of small businesses fail, and law firms are definitely small businesses. Or should probably be run more like small businesses. What's interesting about personal injury, though, is most of the time you're not paid up front. So there's a very long waiting game where you're fronting costs and you're spending a lot of time. So I think it'd be interesting to hear you maybe speak a little bit on that, since it's maybe still somewhat fresh on your mind a little bit, is, for newer attorneys thinking about making the jump or whatnot. What was that? What's that like? Getting into a business where there's it's not the immediate, I'm going to do this for you, and here's the invoice and pay it. It's, I'm going to do this, and hopefully we get paid, and it might be now, or it might be months down the road.
Sure. I think every time I bring a new case in and I sign up a new client, that pops in my head, because, like you said, at the end of the day, it's just me. I don't have a huge war chest like some of these larger firms do. So I have to be, to some degree, choosy with what I take. I can't get into some of these medical malpractice cases on my own and front $50,000, $100,000 in costs. I would be decimated, in a couple of months. So when I first started, that was something that was really weighing heavily on me. But as I've started to get some of the smaller cases settled, you build up that operating account. You build up the knowledge that, what, I am going to lay out $5, $10, $15, $25,000 on this case. It may take some time, but I know I will get it back, on top of obviously my fee. There are some cases, and a perfect example of one is a case that I had brought in. The accident was in November of 2015. So I was in practice a couple months. This client came into my office in December of that year, and I signed her up. It was a slip and fall at a store, and pre-suit, didn't do anything. I knew I had to litigate it. It was against a supermarket, not one of the bigger ones, but one that's well known in Miami down here. And litigated it for a significant period of time, about 2.5 years of heavy litigation. I spent probably close to $15,000 in costs in deposition transcripts and medical experts, non-medical experts, to get an expert out to the area. And we resolved the case, I think successfully, because there were some issues of liability that would have possibly had it thrown out at the summary judgment phase. But regardless, we settled it. Client then turns around, who has control of the entire case. That's the thing that people don't know. Clients take control of while we're the lawyers and we can provide our expert opinion, clients have final say. So we settled the case. She then refused to sign the release and then sign the closing statement, now saying she wanted more money. So that held the case up for an additional 2 years. So I had $15,000 in costs just sitting there. in a trust account that was eventually going to have to go into the court registry, and it's stressful. You know, thankfully, at some point she came to her senses, and one day I opened up my email and the closing statement signed, and I said, oh, you know, thank God. I could get my fee, I could get my costs back, and I don't have to deal with her again.
Yeah.
So it's stressful. It is stressful because, you know, at the end of the day, $15,000, $5,000, $10,000 is a lot of money. You know, it's rent, it's overhead, it's things that could go to other things. But when you don't have that because it's sitting in a case, I know a lot of colleagues that will just try and settle the case to get it done, to get their money. I don't think they're looking out for the best interest of the client. And that's a shame, you know, because we are not in this. Yes, like I said earlier, we're in this to make money. We all are. That's just the way of the world and the way of the legal world. But at the same time, we want to get our best result for our client. And also getting a better result for our client naturally gets a better result for us. So it took a while. And like I said, I still have those thoughts when I bring in a case, like, okay, what is this going to cost? But that's a risk you take. If you're not willing to take that risk, you know, don't be a personal injury lawyer. Don't work on contingency. Be a criminal defense lawyer. If you feel just in representing people, you know, criminal defense is similar in that sense where you're representing someone and you're fighting for their constitutional rights. You're getting your 20 grand up front. You're getting your 15 grand up front, whatever it may be for a case. Do that. You know, I have a lot of colleagues that do criminal defense, and they always say to me, I don't know how you could do that. You know, I got paid $20,000 last month because I brought in a case. And I said, yeah, I'm litigating cases and hopefully I make money at the end of this month and get my costs back. So it's stressful, but
Yeah. Well,
I think by 5 years, I'm used to it.
I was going to say to that point, you know, personal injury, that's definitely a very, well, I think, I mean, a lot of lawyers in general is generally saturated, but it seems like personal injury is very, very saturated. Is that, I mean, is that kind of your take on it as well? Or, and I guess like kind of maybe a follow-up question with that is, you know, do you feel like, because there's definitely, you know, like great attorneys like you who, you know, have a smaller shop, and then between, you know, then there's like, you know, the more kind of established, you know, bigger law firms like Haggard or someone like that, you know, and then the ultra, you know, the Morgan & Morgan,
Sure.
or something like that. Is that, do you feel like there's competition between all of, I mean, is it, you know, or do you kind of stay within your lane of like these type, I know you mentioned the medical malpractice, like that's probably not something you're going to do all by yourself, or so too many PI attorneys, and is it, you know, how do you compete with everybody like that on a smaller scale?
Well, I think this is how I perceive it. There's a lot of us, no doubt. I'm in some personal injury guru pages on Facebook, and there's hundreds and thousands of people that I look at myself and I say, why is this person an injury lawyer? They probably had a friend who referred them a case. Now, you know, they got $100,000 settlement. So like, I can do this. And those are the people that I think, like I said earlier, are ones that are in this to make money quickly, which is a shame because you're making a bad name for the real personal injury lawyers that are helping people. And, you know, I stay in my lane. I'm not going to do these big cases. I'm not, if a medical malpractice case comes into my office, I will either refer it out, or if I have the time, which I don't, I mean, now I do, but prior to coronavirus, if I didn't have the time, I would not try and hop on and co-counsel. I'm going to leave it to the experts. You mentioned Haggard's law firm. They are world renowned for negligent security in those types of cases. I mean, all personal injury cases, but that's their niche, one of their niches. So if I get a significant negligent security case, I'm giving it to them. I'm going to call up Todd and say, hey, listen, I take this case, run with it. I trust you guys. They have the infrastructure to deal with that. And then on the other end, like you said, there's Morgan & Morgan, I think, John's a great lawyer. You know, they have one of the best trial lawyers in the country at that firm, Keith Mitnick. But then they do have the mill type stuff, you know. It is what it is. I'm never going to have billboards all up and down 95. I don't want to. I don't want to be that type of lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, even if I have a year where I make myself $30 million, I don't want to have that. I don't want to spend the money on advertising and be that, because the call volume increases, the stress increases, because because there's more that I have lawyers. I want to keep it small. Maybe I'll have one lawyer as an associate in the future. So yeah, we're saturated. But listen, the cream rises to the top. I hate to sound cliche,
Sure.
but if you do a good job, your clients are going to recommend you. And if it's between me and another lawyer, and I know that lawyer, I don't know that lawyer, it is what it is. I'm not going to let it stress me out. I mean, I think a lot of that has had to do also with certain things that have happened in my life, both personally and professionally. Like at the end of the day, if I lose a case after somebody else, there'll be another one. There's plenty of car accidents. There's plenty of injuries on cruises. So I'll survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the cruise ships, obviously that's changed. That landscape's changed a little bit. How, I guess I'm just curious. What does that do for you? Do you look at maybe adding another kind of specialty to your practice, or do you just kind of wait this out and see? They're going to come back, but like you said, the landscape's going to be different. We don't know what that's looking like, and since that's a large part of your business, how do you kind of shift and adapt?
I've spoken with some colleagues who do personal injury and who do cruise cases, and we've discussed, what are we going to do when we could see the end of the tunnel and it's back open. I'm going to wait it out because I think at the end of the day, the cruise lines are going to survive. People love cruising. One of the first comments I always get from a new client who is on a cruise is, if I sue the cruise line, I can still go on a cruise in the future, right? So people want to cruise. Listen, people love cruising.
Yeah.
I grew up in South Florida. I've been on hundreds of cruises. That's probably an exaggeration. I've been on dozens of cruises, a lot of cruises. But now I do what I do. I don't know if I want to go on a cruise again, especially now with what's going on. Yeah. But I think they'll be back. I know they'll be back. There will be changes. It'll be interesting to see with, crew members wearing masks. Are they going to have buffets anymore? Certain things. So it'll affect part of the practice. But I'm not going to just add, I'm knock on wood, I'm still doing well. So yeah. I'm not going to just add something to add something. I don't want to stretch myself too thin. I don't want to be the person that I just talked about in the last question where, I get a case. I'm like, oh, I could do this. That's not me. I'm not that type of person. Yeah. This is something that I've always wanted to do, the personal injury realm. So that's what I'm sticking with. Listen, if the world changes totally and drastically, maybe, but there's going to be car accidents. People are driving, people are slipping and falling at Publix and Winn-Dixie. So I'll have a job.
Yeah, no, I think that's, there's definitely, business, I think for all professions, fortunately, I think, lawyers have not been as affected by obviously the service industry and some other places, but some other businesses and whatnot. But for everybody, it's changing, right? The fact that we're doing this via Zoom as opposed to in an office, or everything's different. So we're all kind of adapting a little bit. But yeah, I would probably agree with you. It's not just because one area has affected it depends. It doesn't necessarily mean you change altogether. That being said, someone across my office is a massage therapist, and if I was a massage therapist, I might have to.
I'd think twice. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but I tell you, I'd kill for a massage right now.
Man,
I really would.
I would too. I'd risk it.
If you put like a hazmat suit on, I'll go for it and use wooden spoons. I'm okay.
I'd risk it. Well, so let's something maybe a little lighter, man. So I know, and we've only got a couple more minutes, but so you've been quarantined, and like I said, you've been cooking a lot, man. So is that just like a fun passion thing, or what's up? Is that?
It's always been a passion of mine. I've loved cooking since I was young. Unfortunately, as a result of being a solo practitioner, I haven't had the time. I work late and I come home late, and my wife thankfully has made dinner or we do something quick. The quarantine has given me time to be in the kitchen, to actually spend time doing what I love. I love the law, but being in the kitchen really is a stress relief for me. Yeah. Granted, I have a 2.5-year-old running around screaming while I'm cooking, but at the same time, it's been great. And like I'm sure you've seen, I've taken up a passion for pizza.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to, really perfect the pizza, the Neapolitan style and things like that. It's fun. It's a fun way to pass the time, and I love food, and which is why I'm trying to do the Peloton every day, because if I don't, I'm gonna just,
Yeah.
not leave my house.
Has I think maybe you're like a good example where I'd be curious, has it kind of like, because I know you, like me, work a lot and attorneys work a lot. I mean, has it kind of given you maybe a different perspective on like, work is great, money's great, but like, I'm just assuming from like the posts and everything that you, and other people as well, like, wait, life is actually maybe a little bit more enjoyable when we're not in our office 24/7.
Yes, 100%. I didn't at first. I thought it was going to be pretty crazy having to stay home with my wife and son. But I've experienced things in these past 3.5 months with my family that I otherwise never would have experienced. Watching my 2.5-year-old boy grow has been the greatest part of this entire thing. Um, you know, I'm going to survive. We have a house over our head. We're very fortunate. So yes, you really put things in perspective during this time. At least I did.
Yeah.
There can be a balance. Not to say that once everything opens back up, we're going to get back in the rat race, because that's just our nature. But taking a step back and realizing, okay, I'm still able to get some work done. Understanding that other things have slowed down as well. But I want to really spend time with my wife, with my son. Work, be in the kitchen, do things around the house that I otherwise wouldn't have done. So it's been nice, and it's something that my wife is half Italian, and her whole family in Italy lives that way normally. They live the nice, slower life where family is important, more so than just the capitalist nature of America.
Yeah.
So it's been nice. It's really been nice.
Okay. Well, so I always, last question, I always like to kind of leave, people watching useful information. What would you, any advice for, maybe attorneys in general at large, attorneys starting out in their career, attorneys in the PI world, you can, any advice at all?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two pieces of advice that I think are really important. One is get a mentor. Find someone. They don't have to be someone that's practiced for 50 years. It could be someone that's been 3-4 years out, but just someone that you feel comfortable enough with to ask questions, to learn from. I think that's really, really, really important. And number two is, don't be afraid to take table scraps in the beginning. One of the reasons I when I jumped off on my own, got a lot of cruise cases is because when I was at the end of my career on the defense side with the cruise lines, I was talking to a lot of plaintiffs lawyers and saying, listen, I'm going to be going off on my own. I don't mind taking cases that you otherwise wouldn't have taken. Soft tissue injuries, cases that aren't surgical, cases worth $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, because you're not going to start your own firm and suddenly get a multi-million-dollar case. You may, but the chances are you're not. So don't be afraid to take those small cases and show those people that you're eventually going to be colleagues with in the plaintiff's bar. You're aggressive. You will do what it takes to make them their percentage and you money. So yeah, those are my things. If you're starting out, it's scary, especially in this new landscape, but find a mentor for sure, and take anything. You'll learn. This is a practice. No, there is no expert lawyer. We are all learning something new every day, because there's new case law every day, and there's new developments in the law. So we're all in this together.
Awesome, man. Great advice. Great hair that you're growing out as well. I like it.
Thank you.
I'll be joining you soon. I'm on my way. Mr. Chase, always a pleasure, sir. How can people, if they got a case or want to get in contact you or want you to be their mentor, how do they find you?
Sure. You can call me. Call my office line is 305-677-2228. Visit the website, www.chasejustice.com, which thankfully is recently trademarked, thanks to my trademark lawyer. Or you can find me on Instagram at chasejustice_law.com. I'm always available on Facebook. Law offices of Brandon L. Chase. I have a cell phone that I give to all of my clients, and I want to keep it that way. So call me, find me, I'll help you.
Text him for free.
And I'll make you a pizza if you want. If you want a pizza, I'll make you a pizza.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it, man. Good times. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.